The galaxy was old. Very, very old. For 3,000 years, the galactic conclave had ruled the stars. 17 different alien species worked together in peace. They had mapped every planet, every moon, every asteroid. They knew everything about their universe, or so they thought. There was one place they never went. They called it the Dead Zone. It sat at the edge of the galaxy, far from civilization. The Dead Zone was filled with terrible things. Solar storms that could cook a ship in seconds. Gravity wells that crushed metal like paper. Radiation so strong that even the best shields failed within hours. Every probe sent into the Dead Zone vanished. Every ship that tried to explore it was never seen again. So the Conclave made a simple rule. Stay away. Nothing could live there. Nothing should try. For 3,000 years, this rule was never questioned. Then came the signal. High Arbiter Velneth was having a normal day. She was a Scythian, tall, thin, with silver scales that shimmered in the light. Her job was to watch the border near the Dead Zone. It was boring work. Nothing ever happened there, until today. Her communication officer, a nervous young male named Keth, called her to the sensor station. His scales had turned pale with fear. "Arbiter," he whispered. "You need to see this." Velneth looked at the screen. At first, she did not understand what she was seeing. There was a signal. A clear, structured signal. It had patterns. Mathematics. Someone had sent it on purpose, and it was coming from inside the Dead Zone. "That is impossible," Velneth said. "I know," Keth replied. "But it is real." The signal repeated the same message over and over. It took their computers 3 hours to translate it. When they finally understood the words, Velneth felt her blood turn cold. "We are coming to say hello." The news spread fast. Within 1 day, every species in the Conclave knew about the signal. Within 2 days, panic had begun. The great chamber on planet Nexus was filled with shouting. Representatives from all 17 species argued and accused each other. Some said it was a trick. Some said it was a weapon. Some said it was impossible. The Croathi war clans were the loudest. They were massive creatures, built like mountains, with 4 arms and skin like stone. They had conquered 12 species before joining the Conclave. War was their religion. "We must attack first," roared Warlord Krethnak, slamming his fist on the table. "Whatever hides in the Dead Zone is a threat. We destroy it before it destroys us." The Valesi scientists disagreed. They were small, delicate beings, with huge eyes and bigger brains. They valued knowledge above all else. "We know nothing about these creatures," said Chief Scientist Yeli. "To attack blindly is foolish. We must study them first." The Mindweavers of Queth said nothing. They never spoke out loud. Instead, they communicated through thoughts. They had tried to reach into the Dead Zone with their minds, to touch whoever sent the signal. They had failed. "The minds there," their elder finally said through telepathy, "are too bright, too fast, too intense. We could not read them. We could only feel them." "Feel what?" asked Velneth. The Mindweaver shuddered. "Emotion. So much emotion. Joy and sorrow and anger and love. All mixed together. It was overwhelming. These beings feel everything deeply. Too deeply. Too deeply." The chamber fell silent. No species in the Conclave had ever been described that way. It was unsettling. Ambassador Taylor Rixanon was young for a diplomat. She was also Scythian, with scales of deep blue that marked her as low-born. Many thought she did not deserve her position, but she was smart, creative, and brave. That was why the Conclave chose her to lead first contact. "You want me to meet them?" Taylor asked, her voice calm despite her fear. "Someone must," said High Arbiter Velneth. "And you have a gift for understanding others. If anyone can communicate with these beings, it is you." Taylor accepted the mission. She did not tell anyone how scared she was. That night, she studied everything the Conclave knew about the Dead Zone. The numbers were terrifying. No ship had ever survived more than 6 hours inside. The radiation alone should kill any living creature. The gravity wells should crush any planet where life could grow. Yet something was alive in there. Not just alive, thriving. Building ships. Sending signals. Coming to say hello. What kind of creature could survive such a place? Taylor was not sure she wanted to know. 10 days after the signal was first detected, the sensors went crazy. Taylor was on the bridge of her diplomatic vessel when the alarm started. She rushed to the main screen and felt her heart stop. Ships were emerging from the dead zone. Not one ship. Not 10 ships. Hundreds of ships. They moved through radiation storms that should have melted them. They flew past gravity wells that should have crushed them. They came in perfect formation. Like a flock of birds moving as one. Their ships were not beautiful. They were ugly, blocky, covered in scars and patches. They looked like they had been through 1,000 battles. But they were still flying, still working, still coming. "How is this possible?" whispered Keth. No one answered. There was no answer. The fleet stopped at the edge of conclave space. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then, a message came through. It was spoken in perfect Silithian, as if they had been listening for years. "Hello. We are humans. We have traveled very far to meet you. We hope we can be friends." Taylor stared at the screen. Her scales had turned white with shock. "Friends?" she repeated. The voice on the other end laughed. It was a warm sound, full of genuine happiness. "Yes, friends. We have been alone for a very long time. We are very excited to meet you." Taylor looked at the massive fleet before her. Hundreds of ships that had crossed the impossible dead zone. Creatures that felt emotions too intense for mindweavers to read. Beings that had survived a hell no other species could endure. And they wanted to be friends. For some reason, that scared her more than anything else. The human ship was called the Wanderer. Taylor stood at the airlock of her diplomatic vessel, waiting for the doors to open. Her 2 guards stood behind her, their weapons ready. They were scared. She could see it in the way their scales flickered between colors. She was scared too. But she was also curious. The airlock hissed open. A wave of warm air washed over her. It smelled strange. Thick with oxygen. Heavy with moisture. It was the air of a living world. Carried across the stars. A figure stepped through the doorway. Taylor's first thought was, "They are so soft." The human was shorter than a Silithian. Its skin was smooth and bare, with no scales, no armor, no protection at all. Its body was rounded in places, thin in others. It moved slowly, carefully, like it was afraid of breaking. But its eyes were alive, bright and warm and full of something Taylor had never seen before. Something that looked like joy. "Hello," the human said. Its voice was gentle. "My name is Elena Vasquez. I am the captain of this ship. Thank you for coming." Taylor bowed her head in the traditional Silithian greeting. "I am Ambassador Taylor Rixanon. I speak for the Galactic Conclave. We welcome you to our space." Captain Vasquez smiled. It was a strange expression, the corners of her mouth turned upward, showing her teeth. On any other species, showing teeth was a threat. But somehow, on this human, it looked friendly. "Please," Vasquez said, stepping aside. "Come in. We have much to discuss." The inside of the human ship was nothing like Taylor expected. She had imagined cold metal walls and harsh lighting. Instead, she found warmth. The corridors were painted in soft colors. Pictures hung on the walls, images of green landscapes, blue oceans, and golden sunsets. Soft music played from somewhere, a gentle melody that made Taylor feel strangely calm. "Your ship is beautiful," Taylor said, surprised. Vasquez laughed. "Thank you. We spend a lot of time in space. We like to make it feel like home." They walked through the ship, passing other humans along the way. Each one stopped to look at Taylor with curiosity. Some smiled. Some waved. A few said hello. In broken Silithian, none of them seemed afraid. How strange, Taylor thought. We could be their enemies. Yet they greet us like old friends. They reached a large room filled with tables and chairs. Humans sat everywhere, eating and talking and laughing. The smell of food filled the air, strange smells that made Tayla's nose twitch. Vasquez guided her to a quiet corner. A table was prepared with drinks and small foods. "Please, sit," Vasquez said. "Are you hungry? Thirsty?" Tayla sat carefully. Her guards remained standing, still nervous. "I am curious," Tayla admitted. "What are these things?" Vasquez pointed to each item. "This is bread. This is fruit. This is cheese. And this," she held up a cup of dark liquid, "is coffee. It is very important to humans." She took a long drink from the cup and sighed with happiness. Tayla's scanner beeped. She looked at the readings and felt her scales turn pale. "Captain Vasquez," she said slowly, "this drink you call coffee. It contains dangerous chemicals. My scanner says it would damage the hearts of most conclave species." Vasquez looked at her cup, then back at Tayla. She shrugged. "Yes, it is a stimulant. It speeds up our hearts and makes us more alert. We drink it every morning." "Every morning? But it is dangerous." "Many things are dangerous," Vasquez said simply. "We like the taste." Tayla stared at her. She did not know what to say. Over the next few hours, Tayla learned many things about humans. Each fact was more shocking than the last. Humans ate plants that were poisonous to other species. They called these spices and said they made food taste better. Humans drank alcohol, actual poison, for fun. They did this at celebrations, at parties, even at casual dinners. Humans kept animals as companions, not for food, not for work, just for company. They called these animals pets and loved them like family members. Humans slept for 8 hours every night. During this time, their brains created false experiences called dreams. Sometimes these dreams were pleasant. Sometimes they were terrifying. Humans could not control them. And perhaps strangest of all, human bodies were filled with tiny living things. Billions of bacteria lived inside every human, helping them digest food and fight disease. If these bacteria were removed, the human would die. "You are a colony," Tayla said, amazed. "Not one creature, but trillions working together." "I never thought of it that way," Vasquez said, smiling. "But yes, I suppose we are." The more Tayla learned, the more confused she became. Everything about humans said they should not exist. Their bodies were fragile. Their planet was dangerous. Their biology was chaotic. Yet here they were, crossing the galaxy, building ships, creating art and music, thriving. "Captain," Tayla finally asked, "where do you come from? What kind of world creates beings like you?" Vasquez's smile faded slightly. She looked out the window at the stars. "We come from a planet called Earth," she said quietly. "It is very far from here, past the dead zone, past even worse places." "What is Earth like?" Vasquez was silent for a moment. Then she pulled out a small device and pressed a button. A hologram appeared, a blue and green sphere floating in the air. "This is Earth," she said. Tayla leaned forward to study it. The planet was beautiful. Blue oceans covered most of the surface. Green and brown landmasses stretched between them. White clouds swirled in the atmosphere. "It looks peaceful," Tayla said. Vasquez laughed softly. "It is not." She pressed another button. The hologram changed, showing images that made Tayla's blood freeze. Mountains exploding with fire and lava, massive waves destroying cities, the ground cracking open and swallowing buildings whole, storms larger than continents, spinning with terrible fury. "Earth is a world of disasters," Vasquez explained. "Volcanoes, earthquakes, hurricanes, floods. Our planet tries to destroy us every day." Tayla could not speak. She watched image after image of destruction. "And your predators?" she finally asked. Vasquez showed her. Creatures with hundreds of teeth. Insects that injected poison. Snakes that crushed their prey. Microorganisms that killed millions. "Everything on Earth is dangerous," Vasquez said. The animals, the weather, even the plants. We learned to survive by adapting, by refusing to give up. She turned off the hologram and looked at Taylor with those warm, intense eyes. You call the dead zone impossible. For us, it was just another obstacle. We have been overcoming impossible things since we first stood upright. Taylor understood now. She finally understood. These humans were not soft. They were not weak. They were survivors of a world that should have ended them 1,000 times over. They were Deathworlders, and they had just arrived in the galaxy. Warlord Krethnak did not believe in friendship. He believed in power. He believed in strength. He believed that the strong ruled and the weak served. This was the way of the Croathi. This was the way of the universe. When he heard that soft, fragile creatures had crossed the dead zone, he laughed. When he heard they wanted to be friends, he laughed harder. These humans are prey animals, he told his captains. Look at them. No claws, no armor, no fangs. They smile and offer gifts like frightened children. They are weak, his captains agreed. The Croathi had conquered 12 species. They had never lost a war. What could these soft pink creatures possibly do against them? Krethnak made a decision. He would not wait for the conclave to debate. He would not follow their rules. He would attack the humans now, destroy their fleet, and prove that the Croathi were still the strongest species in the galaxy. It was a decision he would regret for the rest of his life. The attack came without warning. Taylor was still on the human ship when the alarm started. Red lights flashed everywhere. Humans ran through the corridors, shouting orders. Captain Vasquez grabbed Taylor's arm and pulled her toward the bridge. What is happening? Taylor asked, her heart's beating fast. Your Croathi friends, Vasquez said grimly. 300 warships just dropped out of hyperspace. They are charging weapons. 300 ships. That was the entire Croathi devastation fleet. Enough firepower to crack a moon. Taylor felt sick. Captain, you must retreat. The Croathi are the greatest warriors in the conclave. You cannot fight them. Vasquez looked at her. For a moment, something flickered in her eyes. It was not fear. It was something else. Something harder. Ambassador, she said quietly. We crossed the dead zone. We survived our own planet. We have been fighting impossible battles since the first human picked up a rock. She turned toward the bridge. We do not retreat. The Croathi attacked with overwhelming force. Energy beams lanced through space. Missiles flew in swarms. The first wave should have destroyed half the human fleet in seconds. It did not. The human ships scattered like leaves in the wind. They moved in strange patterns, unpredictable, chaotic, impossible to target. They did not fight in formation like proper warships. They fought like wild animals. Each ship independent, yet somehow working together. Croathi gunners fired and missed. Fired again and missed. Their targeting computers could not predict where the humans would be. What are they doing? Krethnak roared. Why can we not hit them? His tactical officer stared at his screen in confusion. Warlord, they are not following any known combat pattern. Their movements are random. Random? No species fights randomly. These ones do. On the bridge of the Wanderer, Captain Vasquez stood calm and steady. Blood ran down her face from a cut on her forehead. A console had exploded near her during the first attack. She had wiped the blood away and kept working. Taylor watched in amazement. Any Silithian would have stopped to treat such a wound. Vasquez acted like it did not exist. Status report, Vasquez called out. Shields at 60%, an officer replied. Hull breach on deck 7. Repair teams are sealing it now. Now? Taylor gasped. You are repairing the ship during battle? Vasquez smiled. Of course. What else would we do? Taylor had no answer. No conclave species repaired ships during combat. It was too dangerous, too difficult. But the humans were doing it. Teams of engineers ran through the burning corridors, welding metal, rerouting power, keeping the ship alive through sheer determination. Target the lead Croathi vessel, Vasquez ordered. Launch the surprise. Launching now, Captain. Taylor watched the screen. A small pod flew from the Wanderer toward the Croathi flagship. It was tiny, barely visible. What is that? Taylor asked. Vasquez's smile grew wider. Music. Krethnak was winning, or so he thought. His ships outnumbered the humans 3-1. Several human vessels were damaged, trailing smoke and fire. Victory was close. Then his communication system went insane. Every channel, every frequency, every speaker on his ship suddenly blasted the same sound. It was noise, terrible, chaotic, rhythmic noise. Drums pounding, voices screaming words he could not understand. Strange instruments wailing. The humans called it heavy metal music. To Croathi ears, it was torture. Turn it off, Krethnak bellowed, clutching his head. Turn it off! His officers scrambled to obey. But every time they blocked one frequency, the music appeared on another. It was everywhere, inescapable, driving them mad. While the Croathi struggled with the noise, the human ships attacked. They moved as one now, striking weak points, targeting engines and weapons. They did not try to destroy the Croathi ships. They disabled them. One by one, the mighty devastation fleet went dark. Krethnak watched his fleet fall apart around him. In 20 minutes, everything had changed. His ships drifted helplessly. His communications were chaos. His warriors were defeated, and the humans had not lost a single vessel. Krethnak refused to surrender. He took a boarding shuttle and flew to the nearest human ship himself. If he could not win with weapons, he would win with his hands. The Croathi were the strongest warriors in close combat. No soft creature could stand against them. The airlock opened. Krethnak charged through with 20 of his best soldiers. They found the humans waiting. The human warriors were small. Their armor was thin. Their weapons looked primitive. Krethnak roared and swung his massive fist at the nearest one. The human ducked under his arm and hit him in the knee. Pain exploded through Krethnak's leg. He stumbled. Before he could recover, another human jumped on his back. A third one struck his arm. A fourth swept his other leg. They fought like demons. They ignored wounds that should have stopped them. One human had a broken arm. Krethnak had heard the bone snap, but the human kept fighting, using his other arm to swing a metal tool at Croathi heads. They were screaming. Not in fear, in fury, in joy. They were enjoying this. Krethnak fell. He lay on the cold metal floor, bleeding, defeated, surrounded by humans who should not have been able to touch him. A shadow fell over him. Captain Vasquez stood there, looking down at him. She was still bleeding from her head wound. She was still smiling. "Hello, warlord," she said calmly. "Are you done?" Krethnak had no words. For the first time in his life, he understood a terrible truth. These creatures were not weak. They were not soft. They were survivors of a world that made warriors of everyone. They did not fight because they loved war. They fought because they refused to lose, and they never, ever gave up. The battle was over. The Croathi were defeated, but the real war was just beginning. News of the human victory spread across the galaxy like fire. Every species, every planet, every station heard the same story. 300 Croathi warships attacked a smaller human fleet. The humans won in 20 minutes. The conclave was terrified. Emergency meetings were called. Leaders shouted at each other. Fear made them angry. Anger made them dangerous. "These Deathworlders must be destroyed," cried Senator Vethros of the Mineral Collective. "Before they destroy us." "They defeated the Croathi without losing a single ship," argued Chief Scientist Yeli. "How can we fight such beings?" "We must try," Vethros insisted. "Or we will all become their slaves." Ambassador Taylor stood in the great chamber, listening to the chaos. She had spent 3 days with the humans. She had seen things that changed her understanding of the universe. Now she had to make the conclave understand. "Honored members," she called out. Her voice was strong and clear. "Please, listen to me." The chamber slowly fell quiet. All eyes turned to the young Silithian diplomat. "You are afraid," Taylor said. "I understand. I was afraid too. But you do not know these humans. I do. And I am telling you they are not our enemies." "How can you say that?" Vethros demanded. "They defeated the Croathi. They are dangerous." "Yes," Taylor agreed. "They are dangerous. But not to us. Not unless we make them our enemies. Let me show you who they really are." She pressed a button on her console. The great holographic display in the center of the chamber flickered to life. "The humans have shared their history with me," Taylor said. "All of it. The good and the bad. Watch and understand." The first images showed Earth, beautiful blue oceans, green forests, golden deserts, snow-capped mountains. It looked like paradise. Then the disasters began. Volcanoes erupting, burying cities in ash. Earthquakes splitting the ground, swallowing buildings whole. Tsunamis, giant waves taller than towers crashing onto shores and washing everything away. The Conclave watched in horror. "Their planet tries to kill them every day," Taylor narrated. But that is not the worst part. The images changed. Now they showed humans fighting each other. Armies clashing on muddy fields. Cities burning. Weapons that could destroy entire regions in a single flash of light. Ships sinking beneath dark waters. Smoke rising from ruined buildings. "Humans have fought terrible wars against themselves," Taylor continued. "They have killed millions of their own kind. They have come close to extinction many times." Gasps filled the chamber. Several delegates looked sick. "Why?" someone asked. "Why would any species do this to itself?" Taylor paused. "Because they feel everything deeply. Love, hate, fear, hope. Their emotions are stronger than ours. Sometimes these emotions lead them to beautiful things. Sometimes they lead to terrible things." The images changed again. Now they showed something different. A city destroyed by bombs. But in the ruins, humans were rebuilding. They carried stones and wood. They worked together, day after day, until new buildings rose from the ashes. A great wave had killed thousands. But survivors pulled each other from the water. Strangers helped strangers. Enemies became friends. In the face of disaster, a terrible sickness swept across their world. Doctors worked without sleep, searching for a cure. They died trying to save others. And eventually, they succeeded. War after war after war. And after each war, peace. Treaties signed, hands shaken. Former enemies sitting down to share meals together. "This is what humans truly are," Taylor said softly. "They fall down. They make mistakes. They hurt themselves and each other. But they always get back up. They always try again. They never stop hoping for something better." The chamber was silent now. Every delegate watched the images with wide eyes. The final images were the most powerful. A human standing on their moon, looking back at their tiny blue planet. Humans from different nations working together on a space station, floating above their world. Scientists discovering cures for diseases that had killed millions. Artists creating paintings and songs and stories that made other humans weep with joy. Children playing in parks, laughing, unaware of all the horrors their ancestors had survived. "Humans are not monsters," Taylor said. "They are survivors. They have faced every challenge the universe could throw at them. Disasters, wars, plagues, their own worst impulses. And they survived it all." She turned off the display and faced the conclave. "They did not cross the dead zone to conquer us. They crossed it because they were lonely. They have been alone in their corner of the galaxy for thousands of years. They saw our signals, they heard our voices, and they came to find us." She took a deep breath. "They came to find friends." The chamber erupted in debate. Some delegates were moved by Taylor's words. They wanted to welcome the humans, to learn from them, to build something new together. But others remained afraid. Archon Zethrel was the leader of the opposition. He was a Vexari, tall and thin, with cold eyes and a calculating mind. He did not trust anyone. He certainly did not trust Deathworlders. Pretty words, Zethrel said, his voice smooth and dangerous. Pretty images. But they do not change the facts. These humans are unpredictable, violent, emotional. They could turn on us at any moment. They have shown us nothing but kindness, Taylor argued. For now, Zethrel replied. But you showed us their history yourself. They are capable of great destruction. Can we really trust beings who have nearly destroyed themselves so many times? He stood and addressed the chamber. I propose a different solution. We do not attack the humans directly. That would be foolish. Instead, we strike at their heart, their homeworld. This place called Earth. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Without Earth, the humans will be lost, Zethrel continued. They will scatter. They will weaken. And we will be safe. That is genocide, Taylor shouted. You would destroy an entire world. I would protect our civilization, Zethrel said coldly. Sometimes protection requires difficult choices. The vote was close. Too close. Zethrel's proposal was not approved by the full conclave. But Taylor saw the fear in the delegates' eyes. She knew that Zethrel would not give up. That night, she received a secret message from a friend in the military. Zethrel is building a coalition. 12 species have agreed to support him in secret. A stealth fleet is being assembled. They plan to attack Earth within 30 days. Taylor read the message 3 times. Her hands were shaking. She had to warn the humans. She had to stop this madness. But how? Zethrel had spies everywhere. If she tried to send a message, she would be caught. If she tried to leave, she would be stopped. She was alone. And time was running out. Then her console beeped. A new message from Captain Vasquez. Ambassador Taylor. We know about the secret fleet. We have known for 3 days. Do not worry. We have a plan. Trust us. Elena. Taylor stared at the message. How did they know? How could they possibly be prepared? Then she remembered what Vasquez had told her. We have been fighting impossible battles since the first human picked up a rock. Maybe, just maybe, the humans knew what they were doing. She hoped so. Because if they did not, Earth would burn, and the galaxy would never be the same. The stealth fleet moved through the darkness of space, 50 warships from 12 different species. The best technology the Conclave had. Cloaking devices that made them invisible. Weapons that could crack a planet in half. Archon Zethrel stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the stars pass by. He felt calm, confident. In a few hours, Earth would be destroyed. The human threat would end, and he would be remembered as the savior of the galaxy. Approaching the target system, his navigator announced. Decloaking in 10 minutes. Zethrel smiled his cold smile. Excellent. Prepare all weapons. I want the planet destroyed before they even know we are here. The fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the human solar system. And then everything went wrong. Alarms screamed across every ship. Archon, the tactical officer shouted. We are surrounded. Zethrel stared at his screen in disbelief. Human ships were everywhere. Hundreds of them. They had been waiting. Hiding in asteroid fields. Lurking behind moons. Floating silent and dark until the perfect moment. Now they lit up like stars, forming a wall between the stealth fleet and Earth. Impossible, Zethrel whispered. How did they know? A communication signal cut through the chaos. A human face appeared on the main screen. It was Captain Elena Vasquez. She looked tired, but she was smiling. Hello, Archon, she said calmly. Welcome to our solar system. I see you brought friends. You cannot stop us, Zethrel hissed. We have 50 warships. We will destroy your planet, and everyone on it. Vasquez nodded slowly. You can try, but I should warn you, Earth does not go down easy. Nothing from Earth goes down easy. She leaned forward, her eyes hard. You came here to kill our home. You came here to break us. But you forgot one thing, Archon. We are humans. We have been broken before. We always put ourselves back together. She smiled again. This time, it was not friendly. Let me show you what that means. The battle began. Zethrael had expected easy victory. He had studied the human ships. They were old, patched together, held by prayers and stubbornness, but they fought like nothing he had ever seen. Human pilots flew their ships like extensions of their own bodies. They dove through asteroid fields at impossible speeds. They used moons for cover. They appeared from nowhere, struck hard, and vanished again, and they never stopped talking. Every human ship broadcast messages. Not threats, not warnings. Stories. My grandmother survived a tsunami, one pilot said, as she destroyed a conclave cruiser. She rebuilt her home 3 times. You think you scare me? My great-grandfather walked across a frozen continent, another pilot announced. He lost his fingers to the cold. He kept walking. What do you have that is worse than that? We cured diseases that killed millions. We put footprints on our moon. We crossed the dead zone. And you think you can break us with 50 ships? The messages spread through the conclave fleet. Soldiers who had never met humans heard their voices, heard their stories, heard their defiance, and they began to doubt. Zethrael watched his fleet fall apart. Ship after ship was disabled, not destroyed, disabled. The humans targeted engines and weapons with surgical precision. They did not want to kill. They wanted to stop. Why? Zethrael demanded. Why do you not destroy us? We came to kill your world. Vasquez appeared on his screen again. Because we know what it feels like to hate. She said simply. We know where it leads. We have destroyed enough. We have killed enough. We do not want to add more death to the universe. She paused. But make no mistake, Archon. If you fire one shot at Earth, we will end you. Not because we want to. Because we must. Earth is our mother. She made us who we are. We will protect her with everything we have. Zethrael looked at his tactical display. His fleet was surrounded. Most of his ships were drifting without power. His great plan had failed completely. He had one choice left. Ambassador Taylor's voice suddenly filled the communication channels. She had escaped from conclave space. She had traveled to Earth as fast as she could. Now she stood on the bridge of a human ship, broadcasting to everyone. Members of the stealth fleet, she said. I am Ambassador Taylor Rixanon. I speak to you not as a diplomat, but as a person who has seen the truth. She took a deep breath. I have walked on human ships. I have eaten their food. I have heard their music. I have seen their history, all of it. The beautiful and the terrible. Her voice grew stronger. These beings are not our enemies. They are survivors, just like us. They crossed the impossible to find us. They defeated the Croathy but spared their lives. They could destroy us right now, but they choose mercy instead. She looked directly at the camera. What does that tell you? What kind of species shows kindness to those who came to murder them? The communication channels were silent. Every ship in both fleets was listening. The humans have a saying, Taylor continued. They say, the best revenge is living well. They do not want revenge. They want something better. They want peace. They want friendship. They want to build something beautiful with us. She spread her hands. I believe them. Will you? One by one, the conclave ships powered down their weapons. Captains refused Zethrael's orders. Soldiers put down their arms. They had heard enough. They had seen enough. They chose peace. Zethrael was arrested by his own officers. His great plan ended not with fire, but with silence. And in that silence, something new was born. 1 month later, Earth hosted the first Galactic Peace Summit. Representatives from all 17 conclave species walked on human soil for the first time. They felt Earth's sun on their skin. They breathed Earth's air. They saw the mountains and oceans and forests that had created the Deathworlders. Taylor stood beside Captain Vasquez, watching delegates from across the galaxy shake hands with humans. Thank you, Taylor said quietly, for showing mercy, for giving us a second chance. Vasquez smiled. That is what we do. We make mistakes. We learn. We try again. She looked out at the gathering humans and aliens together, talking, laughing, sharing food and stories. My ancestors survived ice ages, Vasquez said. They survived plagues and wars and disasters. They survived because they worked together. Because they believed tomorrow could be better than today. She turned to Taylor. Now we share that belief with the galaxy. That is our gift. That is our legacy. Taylor felt tears forming in her eyes. She did not try to hide them. Children of Earth, she said softly. That is what you are. Vasquez nodded. Yes. And now perhaps, we can all be children of something greater. Children of the stars. Together. In the distance, human children played with young aliens. They did not see differences. They only saw new friends. And watching them, Taylor knew that the galaxy would never be the same. It would be better. The end.